box.
But in objective reality, would you agree that there is, whether or not we understand exactly what it is, that there is some order of clutchness, right? That actually does exist? Well, then people get their own sense of what that list is, and then your guys are right. They probably look at numbers that confirm their bias, but there are others who may just look at numbers and take it where it goes. You know?
But a lot of people aren't privy to like the facts. A lot of people are making assumptions who also haven't watched a lot of games. Like a lot of people literally parachute into the playoffs, and they literally build themes based upon what people tell them the themes are.
Why do you think? I'm curious, because you said you were bringing up an interesting point about AD earlier, about how well he played defense on those final, I guess you can call them 2 possessions against Steph, and usually that's a strategic advantage if you can draw, even though AD can play in his space, defend. If you got a guy like Steph with his handles,
42% from the 3 in clutch
regular
moments.
season or playoffs?
Well, throughout the whole season, up to this point.
Oh, okay, for this year.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
I think Steph, starting in the Toronto series, got over years got more comfortable in those situations. It seems to me. But
yeah, but I just don't want the conversation to turn into that Steph all of a sudden is not clutch.
You got to go where it takes you.
After what he did last year and what he's done this year to get them in this position right now. Anyway, in Game 7, like he's had phenomenal performances.
He has, of course. Why
you're saying, Jay, he's ranked 6th from the start of the season to the point that we are now.
Yes,
and he's hitting 40. You said 40
from 3. In clutch
42% from 3. I mean, that's
what
not
does he
bad.
hit normally from 3?
I don't have all the info here.
That's not bad.
I know how. I know what
body. It's a clear body of work from the beginning of the season to where we are now.
I just know how things sound, Key. Like when you hear specific, like 50 seconds, or like, all right, well now you're skewing, you're cutting the pie somewhere.
Yeah, you're
like
cooking the books.
That's sometimes when you get like when you get data points or you get percentages like that, it's to fit a narrative of what somebody wants you to believe instead of looking at the entirety of it. And I just don't want the conversation to turn into all of a sudden we're calling Steph Curry not clutch. Maybe he's not as clutch as LeBron James. He would have settled his second shot, a 3-point shot that was literally 5.5, 6 feet behind the 3-point
with
line.
a hand in his face.
Yes,
yeah.
He wouldn't have settled. It should have been you try to get to the ball to the sweet spot, give a head fake, feel where AD is on your backside. But the problem is AD is very, very long, man. Like there's certain, I went on Get Up a couple years ago and I talked about Kawhi Leonard has like an 8.5-foot wingspan, right? Where if you were to pull out a ruler and just spread it, it was like an airplane, right? So when AD, what was our whole conversation before the show started? We were like, man, can you imagine if AD actually got down into a stance? A lot of times he catches the ball standing up. If you look on that last possession, he was down in the stance. When he's down in the stance, Key, you talked about being at the game, actually seeing how tall and long dudes are. Look how AD's hands are out. Like his arms being out deter your vision and make you think twice, because now all of a sudden he can block your shot by playing far off you because it doesn't matter.
No matter who you are. No matter who you are, because of his size.
But normally, Key, would you?
And it would be a tape measure, Jay, not a ruler.
Yeah.
Would you normally want to put AD guarding Steph on the perimeter, Key? Like, would you normally think that's a good idea? Hey, you know what?
No.
Right. So I'm saying I understand that there's certain advantages also for AD, but overall, normally you would say that's an advantage for the offense. So why in this situation is it not, Jay? Or was it not?
Who said it? I was never part of the whole advantage thing. I don't know. You and Key started going on advantage, disadvantage. I just said that I thought Anthony Davis, you see why he can't be a top 5 player in the league is because you don't see bigs with feet like that on the perimeter.
I called it an advantage for AD, Jay, based on what just occurred, which is Steph didn't get to hit either one of those shots, and the primary guy that was on him on both of those shots was Anthony Davis. And the reason that is because he's a 7-foot dude with a 100-foot wingspan, and it makes it very difficult for a smaller guard to be able to get that shot up and over him. You would know that, Jay, because you played the position. I can only look at it from my eyes as being an athlete and saying that's a very difficult shot to make for a smaller guy over bigger people.
Okay, we're talking past each other a little bit. Let's move on to
How are
Julius
we talking
Randle.
past each other?
Because I get that point, Key. You've made it crystal clear, and I agree that there are
I'll make it crystal
certain...
clear because I'm talking to Jay about this. I want him to understand I was the person that said that.
There are certain advantages to it that Jay has acknowledged, and I can understand also, right? But overall, you're focusing on the advantages for AD. Overall, normally, if you suck a guy like that out to the perimeter against a player like Steph, it's an advantage for Steph. So what that tells me is in that moment, AD's defense was significantly better than Steph's spots that.
They did it twice.
Yeah.
Steph made 2 shots off it throughout the course of the game, right? He made 1 step back 3, I think, in the first quarter.
And then he had the drive with a layup.
Exactly.
They got AD on him, and they took advantage.
But this is but also one of the things that this is at the end.
Good. That's what I want to know. Why is this different?
Well, because it's in the game situation. The game.
At the end of the game. Why is that different?
Well, I mean, it was last resort. You got to it.
And it makes it more difficult.
Right. Why? That's what I'm trying to find out is why is it more difficult, Jay, at the end of the game for Steph?
Probably cumulative effect, the fact that Steph has been dragging his team the whole game. He has a 30-point triple-double, and that every possession is they're not running a continuity anymore, so every possession has came down to that's why it's look, at the end of the day, Steph's body isn't built like LeBron James' body. LeBron James's body at 6'8", 235, 240 pounds is built to withstand a lot of the endurance that comes along. Continuity system is perfect for him. But now when you increase his diet of the volume of pick and roll, that wear and tears on your body, man. Your legs become heavy in the games.
All right. People still want to talk about this. We haven't even gotten to the Knicks and Julius Randle and Jimmy Butler yet. Yeah, kind of with you on that. Heat are up 3-1. So are the Lakers. What does this mean about who's heading for the finals? Denver suddenly knotted up after looking like the best team in the game. Devin Booker still going crazy. What do we expect from him? Can that possibly continue? 888-SAY-ESPN. Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. So, should we now consider the Lakers, all that said, the favorites to win the whole thing this year, to be their second championship in 4 years? Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max, ESPN Radio.
I don't care. You can call it whoever you want to. It's going to always be somebody more clutch than somebody else, depending on how you form or shape the narrative that you're trying.